Messi. Oh, brilliant skill from Lionel Messi. Surging forward with real menace here. Brilliant from Messi. Oh, what a goal that is!
Yes, good evening. Savva here, Football Heritage TV. Today, we're bringing you football, YouTube, Tottenham royalty, and Perchy. How is everyone today? Is everyone okay?
Doing good,
mate. All good. I'm just kidding, Perchy. This is a chance for us to just talk Tottenham Hotspur, as we have done for the last however many years we've been doing YouTube. Guys and girls, today wanted to talk mainly in regards to obviously, Stel, you sent me a video last night, or a show that your friend over there at the Fighting Cock decided to kind of mock the kind of Levy out situation. And look, I'm not having a pop at him, but I've seen this a lot, guys. I've seen a lot where now all of a sudden, because Tottenham have had 10 good games, that apparently we need to say sorry. Everyone needs to say sorry to Daniel Levy and to ENIC, and everything is great. And my question is everyone just getting a bit carried away? Are we running away with what's been 10 good games and trying to forget a 23-year history? Or are these people right to say that, you know what, sorry, Mr. Levy, sorry for all the naughty, bad words we said about you. We love you. Please stay for another 23 years. So I'll kick off. Will, I'll kick off with you. First of all, how are you? You well?
doing good. Just hanging out in Missouri for a week, and be back home soon. But
Nice.
Yeah. On the Levy thing, look, I don't understand why us being happy about the way our team playing has anything to do with how our feelings are about the bald-headed weirdo. But what do people want us to do? Do they want us to protest in the street because we're top of the league? Like, we're doing well right now. What are we supposed to be upset about other than just the last 23 years? I don't get this. You should still be out there protesting on the streets just because what? Like, I don't get the logical correlation that these people try to make with you can't be Levy out and be happy about the way the football club is performing.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, Stel, if I come to you, I think the key thing for me with all of this is the whole Levy out message, or it doesn't even have to be Levy out, people, right? Look, there's people that go from complete opposite ends of the spectrum. There's the likes of you and Brian Daigle, right, who are very vocal in your face, Levy out, all this kind of stuff. There are people that are on the fence. There are people like me that I'm not the protest guy, but I've not liked them since I can remember. But why is it that if you don't like the owners, then it means you can't like any other facet of the football club after 23 years?
It all comes down to people. By the way, hello to everyone on the panel tonight and in the comments. It all comes down to people not listening or watching the content that we put out. So in Flav's case, it's, you're part of Purple and Gold. You want Levy out. You're just staunch Levy out. You hate him. You want him dead. No, that's not the case at all. I support the team before the regime. And we use that slogan, the team before the regime. So I can support my team every single week, want them to win, cheer them on to win, cheer the goals, get upset and emotional when we lose and when things don't go to plan. I will always support the team. You can turn up to the games. You can, if buying merchandise is your thing, do it. I don't, because I want to see us actually fix up as a football team long term, not just 10 games. Yeah. But they can't separate supporting the team and supporting the regime. They can't separate the two. If you look at my content, the past 10 games on our channel, Will and I's channel, Tottenham Away, look at the amount of match day videos. I'm mocking Arsenal fans outside the Emirates. I'm literally bantering them in their backyard. We're making match day content of the fans jumping up and down in the South Stand after a game partying. We're interviewing people and it's happy conversation. It's positive vibes. So to say like, you lot are miserable, it's like, what planet are you on? You just don't watch the content. You're guessing. For me, it's simple. Last year was the year for fans to really try and force Levy out if that's what they wanted. And not enough fans did it. And we had the most support ever last year. Ex-footballers, pundits in the media, lots of other channels. We're all talking about it now. Levy this, ENIC that. So last year we had the most support for change at the top. And during that period, when people like myself and Brian were actually getting support, I was getting called a paedophile. Brian was getting called a racist. And that's when we've got support, right? That's when we're being supported. So now the team, right? If I was to stand on the high street now, I'm going to get either stabbed or shot because I have no support now because everyone's so consumed by how well the team's doing, which is fine because I'm doing that as well. You can't protest now. You will literally get no support. You will be the most toxic, hated individual because there's no support for it right now because everyone's so caught up in what we're doing, which is great because I'm loving it as well. Mm-hmm. But that changes like that if Ange isn't backed after this start. Yeah. I was saying this last night, Savva. Okay, and you guys tell me what you think. If we were 7th or 8th, I wouldn't be putting out any images saying back Ange or Levy out, non-negotiable. Back him in January or we're done. I wouldn't be putting anything out on social media or on my channel promoting, right, everyone demand that Levy backs Ange or we've got to turn against him again. I wouldn't be saying that if we were 7th or 8th because I would say, do you know what? I don't expect anything. We're in a 3-year rebuild. This is going to take time. We're off to a bit of a shitty start, but we kind of expected that. But now, top of the league, 26 points, best start since 61. For me, none of us expected that. I mean, there's lots of reasons why that's happened as well. We can talk about it. But
yeah.
To not say, I really need to do something in January that I wasn't expecting because this guy might actually do something this season. It's a hell of a long shot, but keep us in the conversation, Levy. At least do that. So that's why I'm doing it because the expectation for me has changed. At the start of the season, I predicted 8th, mid-table without Harry Kane. My expectations changed completely. I expect minimum top 4 now. And that's why I'm doing this. So, but Flav doesn't seem to understand it, nor does that guy he go with James. I don't know where they're coming from with it.
I think it comes if you use an analogy of like politics, right? And you say there's a politician that you don't necessarily like or agree with. If he does 15 things that you don't like, and one thing that you're like, all right, that's okay, that's smart. It doesn't mean you think he's a good president or prime minister or whatever. And that's the exact same situation that we got going on now. Yeah, he brought in Ange, but he also brought in, all of the bad things that we don't like. Yeah, he bought a few good players this year, but he's also bought a lot of bad players. Like it looks like even Tanguy Ndombele's coming back because he can't stop eating hamburgers, right? So it's just because you've done one or two good things, that doesn't immediately just say, okay, forget everything bad that's happened in the past, and you're great now. That's not how it works. That's not how life works.
I mean, Perchy, I just want to come to you. I mean, what I find so funny is I use this phrase lately of 2023, and everything feels very 2023 to me. That everything is right nowism. Spurs are doing well right now. Oh, the last 23 years, it's all been leading up to this. Is that what people are saying, Perchy? Like it's all been leading up to this moment of getting a manager right. After, by the way, 10 games, 10 games. We've got this manager right. We've had a decent window, but a good window. I think some people are going on as though we've had the best window that any team has ever had. Should that mean that people aren't entitled to still not like the owners? Or should it just be about building bridges now and we sweep it all underneath and go, yeah, do you know what? Forget about it. Everything is good again.
I'll put it out here to everyone, to you guys and the chat and stuff. We've been here before. We've been 10 games and we were top of the league in December under Jose Mourinho. And you could argue, look how that turned out. Listen, I'm not saying it's going to be the same. I'm not going to say it's going to be better or worse. I'm not suggesting that. But to suggest that after 10 games of football that all of a sudden everything's rosy at Tottenham, I just think it's a bit short-sighted. I think that's the key bit here. I think still you hit the nail on the head. I think it's all about support the team and don't support the regime, right? I think this is the bit. It's all. I think what Postecoglou's done though is made it very, very easy for people that are Levy out, ENIC out, and stuff. Because if we're top of the table by the 1st of January, we all can sit back and just go on then, go and show this manager what you haven't shown other managers by getting in. I'm not talking about good players. Go and get game-winning players now. This manager's shown it in the click of a finger that he can do it. And I think that's the key bit for me. I think it's all well and good. When people talk about the transfer window, I saw a lot of Daniel Levy-esque behaviour in this transfer window. Look how long it took us to get Mickey van der Ven over the line. Do you know what I mean? I thought, listen, I think you could argue Vicario was a bit lucky. I don't think many of us were all sitting there going, we wanted Vicario in. By the way, thought he's been absolutely brilliant, by the way. But I think you're people that are sitting there saying that they wanted Vicario before we were linked with him. At that click of a finger when we dropped out of Ride, got him in, anyone would have sat there and gone, he's the one we should be signing. And heck, listen, let's put it back into context, right? I'll take us all the way back to July or June or whenever it was. We had fans having a go at the owners for hiring Postecoglou. So let's put it back into context, right? So we could all sit there and say, oh, the managers, I'm not saying everyone, but a lot of people really did not want Postecoglou in and said, this is another Levy appointment. Now it's gone right. It's all context, right? And I think January is going to be the real litmus test to it all, right? The real litmus test. Does this board go, do you know what? Go on, how many do you need? You need 3 players to help get you over the line maybe by the end of it. I don't think we're winning the league, but if there's a chance, do these owners have the balls to go and say, okay, here's a £50 million midfielder. Here's a centre-half that you need in case one of your men get injured. Here's another attacker because Richarlison's a donkey. Let's see what happens, right?
I mean, yeah, listen, sorry, that was my front door going. Look, I just find it quite funny now that it feels like no one's allowed to say anything anymore. Like we're doing well, and yet there still seems to be this divide, and I'm not so sure why. So, look, I watched your show last night, guys. I watched it today, still after our conversation. And listen, I thought you had a really, really good debate about, will Spurs win the league? Can they win the league? Should they win the league? What's possible, the data, and what we might need to buy. And all. I thought it was a really good discussion. But all I can see when I look in my chat, when I look in your chat, when I look in any YouTube channel chat I watch, it feels like everyone wants to just have a go at everyone else for their opinion of Tottenham. Why are we so divided? Why is a team that hasn't won anything for 16 years? Why are we so divided even in the times when we're doing well?
I think it comes down to a little bit of pride, especially as content creators. Some content creators, I think, have this thing they have to be right, and it's the fact that they're right all the time that makes them have value as a YouTube pundit. But because it's I just see a lot of people having a hard time to say, I got this wrong, or I got that wrong, or I got this wrong. I mean, I predicted us to get 86 points last season, and I get bantered for that all the time, right? I was right up until game week 10, but after that, we all know how last season ended, right? Things happen. Things happen that you can't predict, right? Nobody would have predicted that someone would have played a full season with a hernia. Nobody could have predicted that Bentancur is going to do his ACL in November, December, right? There's things that you just can't predict when we're talking about things on YouTube, especially, 4 or 5, 6 months in advance. And yeah, while it's good to be right more than it is to be wrong, I guess, in your opinions on YouTube, some people just can't let it go, and they double down on things that they need to just hold their hands up and say, I mean, Mickey van der Ven and Vicario. Was I super excited when we signed them? No. And they've turned out great, right? I thought Vicario looked shaky during the preseason. I mean, he did look shaky during the preseason, so I was right about that. And I said at the time, we'll have to wait and see, right? And now we've waited and we've seen a little bit, and so far he looks great, right? And will that continue? We don't know. That's the whole point. Nobody knows for certain, right? You can only talk about probabilities. And I think it's the fact that people don't want to be called out, or they get afraid of being called. Look, I call people out all the time, but I don't care about if I get called. In fact, I welcome it. When I call someone out, I welcome them to call me out back, right? Like I think that's the fun part about the debate back and forth. But I don't ever take it like as a personal jab to my ball knowledge or anything like that. So because it's not tied to it.
Yeah, I mean, Stel, look, I mean, it is interesting, isn't it? Look, I've I'll call myself out right now. I've gone on record, Stel, and said there's people saying we're going to win the league. There's people saying why can't we? There's people saying we've got 80%, 50%. I saw you yesterday. You said it was a 10% chance. I've gone on record as saying I think we've got 0% chance of winning it. Honestly, Stel, you would think that I'm literally saying that I've slept with everyone's mum, right? And that I want Tottenham to get relegated for my opinion of we're going to get Champions League. Why is my opinion? I'll start with me. I'm going to pick on everyone at some point. I'll start with mine. Why is my opinion of Spurs getting full 4th, 5th and getting Champions League? Why is that so hated? Is it because I'm giving Spurs 0% chance? Or is it just that everyone is so desperate for success that they don't want it to be right?
I think it's two things, right? The first one is, I've said this 100 times, and this just rattles everyone. But the more it happens, the more I'm proven right. You've got two types of content creator. You've got what I call the media cartel, and then you've got the rest. We are the rest. We say as we see it, what we think, how we feel, and we just put it out there. And people love it or they hate it or they're somewhere in the middle. The media cartel can and can't say certain things, right? This isn't a dig, so people don't get emotional in the chat. Individuals, content creators like a Ricky Sachs, a Chris Cowlin, a Flav from the Fighting Cock, they are the only ones who get invited onto Sky Sports, BT Sports, Talk Sport. They represent the Spurs fan base. The problem is they don't represent me and thousands more because their views and takes are nothing like what I believe or think. But yet their voice is the one that's put out there. They have to toe the line. They have to play the game or they're cut off. Sky Sports, BT Sports, Talk Sports won't touch them. We don't want you. You need to push out the narrative we want to put out there, right? And if they were to actually have a proper discussion on this subject, they would lose their links to these channels and these companies. I'll give an example. The amount of time I hear them say, oh, but you're an echo chamber, Stelios. We prefer balanced debate. Bullshit. Sorry to swear on your channel. Like, that's BS. If you want balanced debate, then have Levy out people in your Levy out conversation. If you're going to talk about ENIC and Levy, have the Levy out people on the show. Otherwise, all you're doing is it's your view and the ones you've picked to come on and have your view. And collectively, you are the media cartel. You're doing it for clicks, likes, and income. I don't do this for income. I don't do it for clicks and likes. I do it because I enjoy talking football. I work in football. And I just need to say my bit. I just want to say my bit. That's it. If I make money from it and if we become a big channel, fantastic. If not, that's not why I do it. But the media cartel don't operate like that. So that's what I see. And that's why Flav made his comments, because he had Brian Daigle and I on a podcast last year, and the backlash that he got was insane. The abuse. He even private messaged me, and I put it on my show yesterday that I did about this. He said, shall I take the podcast down? When have you ever heard of a big channel saying, should we remove the content we've just created because of the backlash he got? So he knows if he comes out and says, actually, I agree with you guys here, he's on the backlash again. So they do what they need to do to play the game. We don't play the games. We don't play the game. We say it as it is. So automatically you're going to be on the back foot. The other thing is, the second part is, and this is about why you are seen as shagging everyone's mum.
Just some. I only get a couple of ball passes a week. Yeah, I'm not allowed
Seems
to do it
like
every
is the
night.
key word. You don't want to get clipped and misconstrued, right? Seems like he's not
Yeah,
actually.
Why there's rumours that Savva's sleeping with people's mums, right? There's I think what it is, Savva, with you, and I'm talking about you now, not everyone else.
Go on.
You saying we're not winning the league, stop it, it's only 10 games, Levy won't back him, we know what he's like. You saying all these things, I agree with, Savva. I agree with all of it. I think where you then build up a lot more negative comments, if we're going to call it negative, I think the word negative and positive are the same thing anyway nowadays. But when you say things like City are going to thrash us, I think that then gets people's backs up against the wall even more. That bit, I disagree with you, right? I 100% disagree with you on that bit. I don't think City are going to thrash us. I don't.
Can I ask a question, though?
But the other stuff, I agree with you.
Is it inconceivable? I don't want to go on a massive tangent, but it's not inconceivable that this Man City team smash us, is it?
No, anything's possible. Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, it's like for me too, and I think it's the fact that sometimes you speak in absolutes.
Yeah,
right? Because zero chance means zero chance, right? It's not possible in any world or under any situation. That's what zero chance means. So it's the absolute factor. Because I disagree with that. I think there is a chance if everything goes the right way, the way that it's been going for the first 10 games of the season. I think we would win the league if that continues on. Now, whether that continues on or not is a completely different argument, right? But it's the fact that there's zero chance. It makes it sound like regardless of the situation, regardless of who we sign in January, regardless of what happens to these players and how well they perform, we can't win the league, right? That bothers me because in my logical brain, that's not right. That's not right.
So if I changed my opinion to 5%, if I said to everyone there's 5%, and by the way, I just want to say, right, first of all, this guy, first of all, I see you. Take that for whatever you think it means. I see you. I see you in other people's chat rooms constantly slagging me off. I see you. Do you know the people I become dismissive of? It's not when people say, oh, I think we could. It's the people that are telling me we will. And I think there is a difference here as well. It's got to work both ways, right, guys? Okay, I take it on board. Okay, maybe I should say, listen, there is a chance. I just don't think we will. But when people are sitting in front of me, and Perchi, you've been on streaming me a lot lately, where people are, we will win the league. You've just got to believe that it will happen. That's where I'm dismissive, right? Does that make sense? Like, I just can't have we will.
Well, no, I think this is the bit, right? I think it's absolutes on both ends. I love bringing my spectrum hand on here. Always comes out. It's we're not, which there's always an opportunity. Like anything can happen in football, right? So there's to write Spurs off it completely. I understand it's completely it. But on the flip side, when people go, oh, you just got to believe it. I think this is the bit that misconstrues it. I think me and you very much, Sav, talking the same things on facts and logic, right, over feelings. I think that was this is really where the debates come from. It's do you feel like winning the league? I feel like we're going to win the league over, okay, well, what is the rationale and logic that we are? Well, the rationale and logic of Tottenham winning the league is if Man City completely fall apart and they get 3 or 4 key injuries for the whole season and Tottenham stay injury-free, Daniel Levy backs this manager and goes and gets 3 or 4 extra players. Arsenal have a load of injuries. Liverpool do. This is the kind of thing, is it? So that could happen. I think anything can happen, right? So those scenarios could happen. But the way that people miss it completely is if you put everyone gets relatively the same amount of injuries across the season. It swings around back, but you get my point in the sense of that team gets 3 injuries, that team gets 3, and in that slight concept, Man City get 3 injuries compared to Tottenham getting 3 injuries right now. It's chalk and cheese. Man City could lose Haaland and De Bruyne all season, but you would still go, do you know what? They've still got firepower in Alvarez and Foden.
You saw what happened when Rodri got injured. Three.
Yes, no, I think that's relative.
I hear this a lot, right? The Rodri thing I hear a lot. If you actually watch the games they didn't win when Rodri didn't play, they didn't play. They were brilliant. They played brilliantly. Had like 25 to 30 shots in each game, but couldn't finish their dinner. Are we saying that they didn't finish their dinner because Rodri wasn't playing in playmaker, deep line playmaker?
Well, I think the Arsenal, the Arsenal game, for example, they missed Rodri really big in that one. They didn't have a lot of shots on target. They didn't create a lot, and they had a hard time controlling that midfield, which is a midfield we didn't have a hard time controlling when we played them, right? So I think that one, the Sheffield United and Wolves one, to be honest with you, I don't watch. There are several teams. I haven't watched a lot of Newcastle this season because the times tend to, for whatever reason, they're putting like 5 games at that 10 a.m. time slot for me, which is, I guess that'd be 5 p.m. for you guys, right? And Newcastle's always conflicting with some other game of some team that we're competing with in the top half of the table, so I haven't watched it. And I don't really watch Manchester City in general because the outcome is usually known before the match starts. So and I don't like watching games like that. But I did watch the Arsenal-Man City game. And I thought that their midfield was having a hard time controlling the ball, having a hard time controlling the pace. The possession rates were really kind of even, almost 50-50. And I think with Rodri and their team, they win that game. So
no, listen, I agree with you. Let me ask you this then, Perch. I'll start with you, and then I'll go back to Will on this. Let me try this new thing of trying to meet in the middle. I think everyone gets injuries and everyone will drop off with their injuries. But I think the difference is that a club like Man City, for example, Man City haven't had Kevin De Bruyne. What was he played? 20 minutes, 17 minutes this season?
25 minutes all season.
How many?
25 minutes all season.
25 minutes all season. Yeah. Now, Kevin De Bruyne, would it be fair, guys, if I was to say Kevin De Bruyne is our James Maddison?
Yeah.
If James Maddison had played 25 minutes all season this year, I fail to believe we'd be in the top half of the table. That's just me. That's just me. Is that harsh? Is that wrong? Am I going overboard on that?
No, I
don't think you're going over the board with it. I just think it's a little bit different because Pep has adjusted their system to where now Alvarez is one of the main creators. They're creating from a different place than they normally do when KDB's in the team, right? So they have had to adjust the way that they play in order to not lose that creativity. But
I agree. But would you not say this? I think you're right. By the way, I think what they've done is they've changed up. But what Man City have that Tottenham don't have right this second is a squad, right? And I think when we talk about Maddison, I think we could talk about it for 5 players in that 11: Romero, Van der Ven, Vicario, Bissouma, Son, Maddison. Sorry, 6. I think if we lose 1 or 2 of those on a long period, Maddison, by the way, is the number 1. I think Maddison creates everything for us at the moment. But I think you lose 1 or 2 of those long term, and you start going, okay, this team goes from up here to down here very quickly. Whereas I look at other squads in the same area as us in the league, let's call it the top 4 that it is right now. I think if they lose a couple of players, you go, okay, the drop off isn't like that. And I think that for me is the key bit. We just haven't got the squad right now.
Yeah, so I just think that there's less depth in a lot of these Premier League teams than a lot of people want to be honest about, right? I think Arsenal is just one injury across to any person in their team, and they're pretty much in the same situation we are, right? Jesus and Nketiah, even though he scored a hat trick against Sheffield United, who also had 17 injuries, right? Half the team that played against us didn't play against them, right? So, and then you've got in their back line, they have no depth whatsoever, right? They are one Saliba injury from Tomiyasu filling in a center back, right? Because Tomori is out till February, March. In the midfield, you can see that the midfield right now isn't working at all. Like if Declan Rice goes down, they're done in that midfield. He's the only one right now who's producing week in and week out for that midfield, right? Odegaard's been a ghost all season. Vieira is not a player, right? Kai Havertz has been horrible. So, I mean, Emil Smith-Rowe has had, even when he came on against Sheffield United, I've been kind of saying maybe he would do a better job in that 8 role. He didn't do very well in that game, even though he played 90 minutes. So, I mean, they are very, very thin. They have no replacement for Saka on the right. no real replacement for Martinelli on the right, except for maybe Trossard. But you saw what happened when both of those guys were injured at the first half of the season. So there's in the big six haven't really played each other yet. Like there's been a couple one-off games. We've played Arsenal and Liverpool. City have played Arsenal, and I think that's it. I don't think they've played anybody else in the top six.
No, I agree. I agree with you. I think Arsenal's probably the one that I would say have the weaker of the squads out of the four. I mean, Spurs. I have the other three. Sorry, I think. But but you look at use Tomiyasu as a good example. I mean, going in, but that he goes in at centre half. We have Eric Dyer filling in at centre half, or a young kid in Ashley Phillips, who I think, by the way, will become very good, but he's still a kid, right? So I think that for me is the difference, right? At centre half, you lose. They put Tomiyasu in, who, I don't think is the greatest player in the world, but he's miles better than the likes of an Eric Dyer right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Eric Dyer's going to play. I think Eric Dyer will be going.
Yeah, I know.
So
he's the one on the bench at the moment.
I'm not basing my depth thing. Like I think if Van der Ven were to go down, you'd probably see Ben Davies playing at left hand side or Ashley Phillips or something like that. And Phillips is really, we have such a young squad now that there isn't that much difference in age between our starters and people in our U21s, right? So I mean, Van der Ven's 22, right? Ashley Phillips is 19. So I mean, there's not a huge gap there. And if he's as good of a player, if you're good enough, you're old enough, in my opinion.
Of course, I agree.
The question isn't necessarily how old he is, it's how good is he, right? If he's the player that people are saying he is, then it shouldn't be a problem with the fact he's only 18 because, size-wise, you're pretty much a full-grown man at that point. So,
yeah, and he's a big bugger, isn't he? Ashley Phillips.
Do you know?
Still, I want to.
Yeah.
Oh, go on. I was going to ask a question. Go on, mate. Go on.
I was going to say one thing that a lot of people keep saying, and I hear it in a lot of channels, is I just want to enjoy the ride. I just want to enjoy the moment. And no one's saying not to, right?
Yeah, enjoy the ride.
I'm enjoying it as well. But my point is, at the end of a ride, there's a destination. What's your destination? Because for me, I want us to try and win something, right? So that's why I put this kind of comment out saying, you better back Ange in January. Because for me, we are not winning anything, and we may risk losing top four if we don't act in a different way this January, because we are going to get injuries, like you guys have discussed, and we are going to go through a difficult patch. But if you've got players that can come off the bench and make the difference that they can't do now, we saw against Palace, Richarlison was rubbish. Ben Davies, how he's allowed to even still be at the club and play this kind of Ange ball system, I don't understand. He was woeful. So it's clear, we all agree. Every Spurs fan agrees we need more players. It is not a Spurs fan doesn't agree more depth. My argument is this. Yeah, enjoy the ride. Long may it continue, but don't you want something at the end of the ride? Or do you want another ride to crash into the barriers? I mean,
I always find it funny that, like as I said, I'll go back to it, because I've said I don't think we'll win the league. People just assume that this ride, whatever they think it is, that I'm not enjoying it. Listen, I love Spurs that we've not lost yet. Doesn't mean that I suddenly go into complete delusional mode and think we're never going to lose a game. Of course we're going to lose a game. Look, guys, I've always been of the opinion that I don't put people on pedestals too soon, because once you put people on a pedestal, this isn't Spurs, right? This is footballers. This is managers. Once you put someone on a pedestal, there's nowhere for them to go but down, is there? That's the problem. So for me, I acknowledge that this is a new team. This is exciting, what's going on. I also acknowledge that at some point we are going to start playing a batch of better teams as well. And that's not me knocking Spurs, but the last three fixtures we've had have been nice, if I can use that term. The next 3, 4, 5 fixtures aren't as nice. Come through that, all of a sudden my mind might start changing a little bit. But I want to get a gauge from you guys as to where are we? And what I mean by that, I don't mean where are we at top of the league, but you look at Liverpool, you look at Man City, you look at Arsenal. I think they're the obvious three for me. They're the obvious three that we talk about when talking about winning titles and being up there. Arsenal, not as much as the other two, if I'm brutally honest. But where are we in relation to them? So Perchy and Will kind of just hit on that in terms of squad depth and injuries. How far away are we from them? Are we level with them? Should we be looking at being above them, these three teams? I'm just curious to know where you
So
guys think.
my personal opinion is I think that we're below City and Liverpool, and I think that we're above Arsenal. Like I don't buy the Arsenal. They don't have a world-class manager. They don't have any world-class players, right? So, and I think that a lot of their players outperform themselves. Like we all know Granit Xhaka and how he's been for them over the past 5 or 6 years. And last year was a complete anomaly, played out of his boots, right? It wasn't a gradual improvement that Mikel Arteta, he went from being crap, throwing his shirt on the ground, stomping on it, and getting red cards every week to being one of the best number 8s in the league last season. That's not a progression. That's a statistical anomaly. So it bothers me that I know that table position isn't a trophy or anything like that, but it bothers me that people treat us like we're the team that finished 5th, 6th, 5th, 8th, 8th, 5th the last 6 out of the past 7 years, right? That's not us. That's them, right? And yes, they played really great football last year, and they were playing teams off the pitch. They're not doing that now. And it's not down to injuries. It's down to their dumb manager trying to play party at right back or trying to force square pegs into round holes in the midfield, right? Buying players like Kai Havertz when they were been a blob everywhere that they've been since they came to the Premier League. Jorginho, I find it hilarious that Arsenal fans think all of these players, except for Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, Rice, and then their defensive pairing are world class, but everybody else in their team is dog crap. Well, if that's the case, you've got 6, 7 world class players, which aren't world class, by the way, and then a bunch of dog trash. So your depth is nothing. And where have you gone and improved in the £200 million that you spend in the summer? Like I find it funny. I find Arsenal below us right now. I think we're playing better football than Arsenal is. So my top 4 right now is City, Liverpool, Tottenham, Arsenal. While I have Liverpool up there, is their front 5 is just phenomenal, right? Probably the most depth in the front line in the entire league.
Hang on. Is this Will Stewart saying Darwin Núñez is phenomenal?
Well, he's the bottom of that barrel.
I'm joking. Yeah, their front 5, the firepower they've got is scary, even if they're not playing well. And what you notice, Will, each week when Liverpool score 3 or score 4 goals in a week, they share it about, don't they? Like you can't put Liverpool teams other than Mo Salah in your dream team.
Guys, I disagree.
Do you?
What?
Yeah.
With Liverpool? Oh
Yeah.
no, I think
before I get to you. So Will, the list you gave me, that was in order for you. So you think it will be City from Liverpool, from Spurs, from Arsenal as things currently stand?
Yeah, because Liverpool, for me, their back line can be shaky at sometimes. Van Dijk, I think, has lost a bit of pace. Not a whole lot. He's just getting old. Yep. Age happens. He's still a great defender, in my opinion. You know, Robinson's out injured. Their back line is really thin when it comes to injuries, right? They're 1 injury away from Gomez playing right back. The midfield, they need a 6. They're lacking a 6 right now. I don't think McAllister plays that, but I think that the other 2 midfielders have been playing really well in the position that they have. They've refreshed that up, and I think that once those players maybe get a little more chemistry or they go out and improve their midfield position in January, they're going to be a contender. But right now, they can score goals regardless of how many chances they're conceding, because within 10 to 15 minutes, they can go 3-0 up. Right? That's just the way that Mohamed Salah, Jota, Diaz works. Arsenal don't have that. I'm sorry, Saka is not Mo Salah. I don't even think Martinelli's Diaz or Jota. And Eddie Nketiah is worse than Darwin Núñez, right? So, and Gabriel Jesus, I think, is about on par with Darwin Núñez. So their worst attacker is as good as their best striker. So I just don't think Arsenal are in it for me. And then Man City's Man City, right? So that's why I've got them as being favorites.
Yeah, let me come to Stel. Before I do, Stel, I'll tell you what is absolutely farcical, though, is there's only 85 likes, which is less than 33%. Come on, people, smash that like button. And for the people that are in other time zones, that for them, it's already the 1st of November. It's my birthday. It's already my birthday tomorrow, but it's still today, if that makes sense. If anything I've said there just makes sense. So smash a like, if not for what I'm going to milk of 48 hours of my 21st birthday again. So, Stel, you disagree with Will on Liverpool, or just that 4, or what were you disagreeing with?
For me, hands down, the top two teams in the country are Man City and then Arsenal. And the reason I say that, well, I'll tell you. The reason is no other team in the country can compete with those two teams' squad depth. As much as we want to slag off,
Arsenal has no squad depth, though. That's a myth.
They do. Yes, they do.
Who?
They've lost Timber and Partey, two very
Timber
good
was a
players.
new signing this season.
Let me finish my point. Here's my point. They've lost, for me, one of the best defensive mids last season in Partey in the league. He was him and Rodri were the best two. And they've lost Timber, who started the season off really well, and I thought he was a really good signing. They've lost those two, and they're 2 points behind us. If we lost Romero and Bissouma, we're in. That's
okay. Still, I got to stop you there for a second because this is the problem. You're basing it off last season's tactics. Partey was available the first half of the season. He was playing right back because that's where Arteta wanted him to be. Hold on, Gabriel is sitting on the bench, not injured, sitting on the bench. So it's not our fault that Arteta is playing Partey in weird positions. He's been available. He's only missed 4 games.
But you're taking what I said out of context. I don't care what Arteta. Let me finish my point. I don't care if Arteta plays 5 at the back, 4 in the middle, 3 in the middle.
Partey left back, he's not playing.
Partey left back, and Ketia in goal. I don't care. The point I'm making is, when you look at squad depth, Arsenal are better than us, and they should be, because they've spent 700 million on this one guy. He's had time to flush out all the rubbish. We've still got the Dyers, the Sessegnons, the Ben Davies, the Brian Gills. We've still got these clowns at our club, right? They've flushed theirs out. All the ones he didn't want are now gone. There's no rubbish left there for them in his eyes, the manager's eyes. We might criticize Nketiah, Kai Havertz, but in the manager's eyes, this is now his squad, right? When I look at Man City, Pep's got his squad as well. So for me, in terms of squad depth, they're the best two in the country. And for a league title, it normally comes down to squad depth. Having said that, I believe, especially after watching Spurs v Arsenal, the one team that they both, Man City and Arsenal, will not want to play this year is us. I think we're the one team they're both going to think, do you know what? I don't want to play them. We're the only team. They might not want to. I think Man City will not want to play us, Savva.
Really? I think they'd love playing us at the moment.
We'll
come on.
We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that.
Now, in terms of who's the third best team, I think both Liverpool and Tottenham are equal, and I'll tell you why. Oof. I agree with Will that their front 5 is better than ours, but I'm sorry, defensively, we are better with Van de Ven, Romero, Vicario, Udogie, Poran, Bissouma. We are better than them defensively. So where they're better attacking, we're better defensively, and I think that counts each other out. They've probably got a better squad depth than us.
What's that based on, Still? Why are we better at the back than them? And hear me out. When we've conceded the exact same amount of goals, and they've arguably had a lot harder games than we have. Why are we better defensively?
I'm going by the fact that Romero, Van de Ven, Bissouma, and Vicario, for their position this season, they're all at the top of their game. And we're going a little bit off stats here, okay? But when I watch them play and when I look at the data, we are better in that aspect. But you're right. Got goals against, but again,
there's context in the goals against too. They haven't conceded any penalties. We've conceded 2, right? They've had 1 own goal. We've had 1 own goal. So we really conceded less goals from open play being broke. Our defense is actually being broken down.
But could you argue we've played a lot easier teams than Liverpool have? I worked out Liverpool have played 6 of the top 10 out of 10, and Spurs have played.
We've played
7
of the
bottom 10, including 5 of the bottom 7, if that makes sense. So I worked it out. So you could argue,
right? But that's including running, Manchester United that was far better form in the season than they are now.
This season, I've watched them in certain games. Right, against Chelsea, I wasn't wowed where they drew. Against Everton, honestly, they made a dog's dinner out of that.
I thought they were poor against them, but then I could flip it and
against Brighton. Against Brighton, Perchy, they defensively they threw it away. They threw that game away.
Yeah, agreed.
I haven't seen Spurs throw away anything defensively. Where normally
I think we tried. think we've tried to throw it away defensively, haven't we? I mean,
once or twice, yes, we've made some errors at the back and we've got away with it. But
could you argue still? So, Matt, could you argue though if the mistakes that I think we have made in the last, I'll use the last 3 games. I don't think we've been amazing in the last 3. If we allowed a team, we let Luton back. We let Luton, if they had a goal score, probably should have scored against us. I thought we would.
But so should we, Perchy. Richarlison should have got a bloody hat-trick.
Yeah, no. I was just going to get to that bit. So I think there's periods where better teams, if we play in the last 3, use the last 3 games as a sort of sample size. I think that if we played better teams than Fulham, who don't have a goal scorer, Palace, who don't have a goal scorer, and Luton, who don't have a goal scorer, right? We use those last 3. If we played against teams of a better caliber, like a Brighton or an Aston Villa, I think they would have had many more opportunities against us.
We're going to find out.
The problem with that logic
is coming.
The problem with that logic is,
we'll find out in the next few games.
The problem with that logic is for people who've played the games or played competitive sports, your mentality is a lot different when you're playing the best team in the league than it is when you're playing the worst team in the league, right? You're more focused, you're more attentive, right? That's for anybody, even kids. Like I can watch my U10s and they all look at the table and they know who's on top. And oh my gosh, we're playing NCFC today. And the boys are more focused because they know it's going to be a hard game rather than when they're playing the team that they just beat 10-0 last week, right?
I get your point. I do get your point.
Yeah, so you're not going to – this is the problem with independent statistical events is you can't compare apples to oranges. You can't compare the mentality of the players playing City as the same mentality as when they're playing Fulham and they're 2-0 up, right? They're going to check out easier against Fulham than they are going to check out against Man City.
Just quickly before we go on, just quickly, by the way, Alfie Devine has just scored a goal for Port Vale out on loan. If anyone cares, he's just put Port Vale 1-0 up.
Scored last on the weekend.
And Valise has scored tonight for the under-21. So I just thought
Savva.
I'd just give it. Yeah, hang on, just really, really quickly still.
Yeah.
I've got before we carry on this debate, I've got Will's 4. I mean, I'm assuming it's that 4 for everyone. I'm just assuming. You can tell me if I'm wrong.
There's one thing that I was going to say to where I think City, Arsenal, and then it's Liverpool and Spurs tied is where I put them. There is one caveat I want to put on that. I honestly believe if we go in January, and of course the others can do the same, right? If we go in January and get 3 good players for this system in key positions, I honestly believe we can surpass what I've just said on the basis we have no European football. And as the season drags on, as injuries become apparent, as fatigue and tiredness kicks in, we're going to be fresh every week. So that's why I'm so big on this January window. And that's why I'm so big on Levy. You better pull your finger out.
But before we go to Perchy, hang on, Perchy, one second. Before we go to you, I want to get the order still. I'm not having people tied, right? I'm not having it. Right, so you've gone City. Did you go City first?
City, Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool.
I'm tired with Liverpool and Spurs, though. You want me to give you an answer?
I'll tell you what. We'll go to Perchy. I'll let you
Spurs
have some time.
Spurs third. I think it'll be City, Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool.
City, Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool. Okay.
Yeah.
Perchy.
I'm gonna say. Do you know what? I'm going to stick to what I said the other day. I'm not going to change.
Go on, Perchy. Aston Villa. Come on, man. They can
No. Villa are my top 4. Villa are my number 5. But I'm going.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Why
not?
I'm going.
Great home record.
I'm going City, Liverpool, Spurs, just Arsenal. Then Arsenal. I think it's going to be close. We're talking about on where we're going to finish this season. That's what I think my top 4 will be.
Say that again, Perchy. Who's your top?
Say that again.
So I think you're going to go City will win it. I think City will win it easily. Liverpool and then Spurs will just pip Arsenal.
Same as me.
Okay. So everyone's put so just for complete transparency, my top 4 is City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Villa. Just for complete transparency.
You just want to be hated, right?
No, he's doing it. As it stands, it's City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham. Listen, I think Villa are a very, very, very good team. I think where Villa are going to struggle is by having all the European games every week and not being able to having to try and rotate and stuff. But if we look at that 4, I think it's going to be that 4. I'm interested. I think it's quite interesting because I'm like Will. I agree that for me, Liverpool are the second best team. And for me, I don't even think it's close. I look at their midfield now is getting stronger. I still think they could do with a DM. But I think what you'll start to see is Klopp integrate Endo in there in more and more games. And I think the other 3 you've already seen Gravenbach started to play more and more games. Szoboszlai's a phenomenal footballer. I think he's excellent. And McAllister, we know what he does. Their forward line, like Wilson, for me, that's the difference. That is why when we talk about Spurs versus Arsenal, I would back them every day of the week over us in terms of being able to put games to bed. And in games, they can make a double substitution where they go, right, Diaz and Nunez can come off. Gakpo and Jota go on. That's still where I think that's where we're going to struggle. That, for me, is the difference between the two. I accept at the back, they're not what they were, but they still conceded the same as us. Arsenal, for me, I think it's a difficult one. They seem to be on this crest of a wave. Like they've not played brilliantly, still haven't lost. That for me is a worry. When they've not played brilliantly, still haven't lost. And we've seen the heights of the football they can play, but we've also seen that they're not very good at getting over the line. But that would be my 4. So all of us have gone with Man City to win the league. All of us have gone with someone else to be second. But yet, when I say Spurs won't win the league, the hate I get is absolutely unbelievable. Just a long-winded way of making a point there.
In my opinion, it's based on where we're at right now with the players we have right now, right?
Yeah.
So
cool.
if we signed, say we were to go out and we were to, this isn't going to happen, but I'm just saying, just for an example, say we were to go out and get Matoma, I don't know, pick any defender to go into that back line, and that Kone guy from Mönchengladbach, right? So if we were to go get 3 players that really kind of help that midfield, stabilize the midfield, stabilize the front 3, stabilize the back line, then I would say, you know what, we may even be able to get second for me. But because the problem is right now is, for me, the way I see Arsenal, I think that compared to last season, Martinelli, I think had his best season ever, right? Martinelli hasn't been that player for the past 3 or 4 years. Saka is consistent. Although Saka, even this season, most of his goals have come from penalties, which is fine. They're winning the penalties, but that's not. They're not going to have right now. They're averaging a penalty every half a game, and that's not going to continue on through the whole season. So that's not a sustainable, reliable thing that I can say, okay, for the next 28 games, Arsenal are going to get another 20 penalties. I don't think that's going to happen. If it did, somebody needs to check with the FA to see if there's any match fixing going on. But so they don't have a Son, though. They don't have a striker right now who can score more than 10 goals in the league in a season. I don't think they just don't.
Didn't we see last year though? Do you not accept the premise that last year they shared all of those goals around everyone? And
but they're not doing that this year. Is what I'm saying. It's not even close.
I hear you. That's my worry with Arsenal, is that we've seen what they can do. I think this is the difference. When people say, but we haven't gone up a gear yet, I take that premise as well. But we've not seen that. With them, we've seen what we know what they're capable of. Right? We know what they're capable of.
In the midfield, who had 14 goals himself, right? 14 GA himself, and was the linchpin in creating most of Martinelli's goals and most of Odegaard's goals. He's not there. And the fact that he's not there is, I think, one of the main reasons why their numbers aren't what they were last season.
But Will, they're on 24 points.
Yeah, but but they've scraped through results.
I mean, Arsenal in the same bracket as
we as well.
No, I don't think so.
But
I don't think we've great.
Arsenal in the same bracket as Tottenham have played 7 of the bottom 10, right? So I think
the second easy start to the season they have had.
Yeah. Spurs and Arsenal have both had relatively easier starts to the season compared, right? So the one I worked at, Liverpool have had the hardest out of the top four. Then it's Man City, then it's Spurs and Arsenal combined, right?
So for me, it's like the thing that I see with Man City with Arsenal, and that they're really struggling with right now is their chance creation. When you look at the number of chances that they've created from open play, like I'm talking about cutting chances in, they are like 12th to 13th in the league, right? So they are getting lucky in the fact that they're getting weird pens, or goalkeepers coming out and it's a questionable whether it should have been a pen or not a pen. Like these there's a lot of those situations. Or you take the Man City win, for example. I mean, that goes anywhere else, and I think Ederson is on the backside of that. He had read it. He was diving in that direction. I think he stops that shot. It bounces off Ake's face and hits the back of the net. These types of situations, and then we've gotten a couple of those ourselves. But the difference between us and Arsenal is we've created the most chances in the league. We've got the most shots on target in the league. We're just not finishing our lunch, because Richarlison, by the way, leads is in the top 3 for big chances missed in the league this season. Right? They don't have anybody in that list, and that's the problem. That's the difference. Right? You've got Erling Haaland, who's missed 11 chances. Salah's missed a bunch of chances. But they always do, because they get a lot of chances, and that's the thing. That's what makes Liverpool and City so dangerous, is because they create a ton of chances. Arsenal aren't creating those right now.
Do you know one thing about Spurs this year, and this is where we've been unlucky, and no one talks about this bit. We haven't scored one goal this season from a penalty because we've not been given any. We've had 0 penalties given to us this season, and two games we should have been given penalties and we weren't given them. So we are being a bit unlucky as well in some instances as well.
Yeah, Arsenal have 2 times as many penalties as the next team on the list. 2 times as many, and we're only 10 games into the season. They've had 6. That's 60% of the time they're getting a pen.
Listen, just quickly, I do want to. We'll come straight back to this. I just want to quickly get to a couple of comments. Just quickly, so Savva, you're trying to be something you're not. Stop trying to.
He's calling you a mum shagger. He's calling you a mum shagger.
The mum shagger heritage. Okay, cool. I don't think anyone can ever accuse me of being something I'm not. I think I'm pretty consistent with how I am. But okay, we'll see. Maybe people disagree with that. Just quickly, we have got a super chat here. A couple of super chats. First of all, it's not my birthday for another 3 hours. Honestly, it's not a big thing. I don't know why this has become a big thing in the chat. Said, happy birthday, Savva. I hope your day has been great. Come on, you Spurs. And we all know what the last bit means. Perfect. It is tomorrow, but thank you so much, bro. I really appreciate that. Our Green has said Spurs are 5th with no injuries, 6th and 7th with injuries. So we'll discuss that in a minute, because obviously injuries will happen. Just quickly, a couple of messages that I thought people might want to react to, and some that I might want to react to. East London Gooner, who's in the chat, always in the chat, is a good guy, has said, so Will, what world-class players do Tottenham have? So I think this is in retaliation to your Arsenal don't have any worldclass players comment.
He's on my case, this guy. Every comment.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah, no, he's good.
It's an obvious one for me to say, and that's Son. While many people may not agree that overall he's a world-class player, as like an overall player, I think there isn't anybody that I've ever seen that hasn't said that Son's not world-class at finishing, right? Arsenal don't even have any
finishing. Yes.
Yeah, Arsenal don't even have any players that are world-class in any specific aspect of the game. So, look, we've already got Son right now.
Will's like the Pied Piper right now. All these little Arsenal people are coming from far and wide on the internet to come in.
Saka?
They're all going to turn up.
What's Saka world-class at?
Saka's not world-class.
Oh, nowhere near it.
Not for me.
Can I be honest?
Not even an aspect of his game, right?
Saka, for me, I find really... listen, good player, right?
Good player, great player. I'd have him.
Of course. But
who's better in his position in the league?
Mo Salah by a mile.
Mo Salah, okay, yeah.
I like watching Diaby. I'll be honest, I like Diaby. I think he's a really good player.
Diaby ahead of Saka. Is that what
when Foden or Silva plays out there, I'd take them.
I think Saka's better than
Bowen's done it more consistently.
Saka's not better.
I think Saka's better than Bowen.
No.
Phil Foden's
Saka's better than Foden.
I think he's better than Phil Foden, yeah.
At what?
Not for me.
I think he delivers for Arsenal. I think he delivers for Arsenal. Like he helps them get results more than Foden does.
Yeah, but Foden would start week in, week out for Arsenal. He doesn't start week in, week out for City. You can't
because Saka's good enough to start every game.
Indian Gooner
good enough to start every game. No,
hold on. It's like the Indian Gooner. It's like the Indian Gooner in the chat saying that Gabriel Jesus has the same goals per 90 as Son over the last 5 years. That's because he was sitting on the bench for City and would come on and whack a goal every now and then.
If Spurs could sign tomorrow, either Foden, Saka, or Bowden, who are you taking?
Foden
for me.
Foden's the best young. But still, there's a difference, right? There's a difference.
Fair enough.
Bukayo Saka is a very good player. Bukayo Saka for me is the star player, so to speak. Actually, I think it's Saliba, but in terms of attacking wise, I think he's the star player in a rigid team. And what I mean by rigid, I don't mean their players are rigid. I mean that when you pick an 11 for Arsenal, we all know what it is. When you pick an 11 for Man City, right? Guardiola can go, right, one game, right, Grealish, you play this week. Right, actually, next week, Doku, you play there. Right, Foden, you go right this week. Right, you. But when I watch Foden, his ability on the ball, it is what it is. I'd like either of them instead of Kulu. Can I just say that? Is that
do you not think Saka's better for England as well than Foden?
I think he's played, but I think the difference is if you watch how England play, watch how the problem is when you're a Man City player, they play one way of football, right? We all know how they play. Imagine you play that week in, week out, that knowing you're going to make 700-800 passes a game or whatever they do, knowing you're going to have complete domination, knowing that you're going to have runners and interchanging. Then you go and play for Gareth Southgate and you know that there's none of that.
Okay, using the same argument then, Saka, who plays one way for Arsenal and delivers, can then adapt and play for Southgate and deliver there as well. So is he not?
I don't think Saka's been good for England. I don't know what.
What's he delivered? I'm sticking with Will. What's he delivered?
He's been better than Foden, surely.
No, neither of them have done anything for England.
Other than the Euro 2000, whatever it was, penalty miss. I think he's performed for England compared to Foden.
I just know who
England's the Harry Kane show,
fan, right? I'm no Arsenal fan.
The whole is the Bellingham Harry Kane show. I haven't seen your wide players do anything for England.
I agree. I completely agree. For me, but look, let's get away from the Southgate England thing because England are boring. But back to Will's point, for me, the only one that I look at and think will be world class, out and out world class, is Saliba. And the words I used there was will be. I think Saliba is a top centre half. I think he's got all the attributes. I think we saw what happened when he came out the team last year. And that's the biggest praise you can give someone, right, when they're not playing. I look at Saka and I think Saka's a really good player. But when we were growing up, guys, there was Sakas everywhere. These type of players were never considered world class. They're everywhere. Yeah. Now it's Saka's the star boy and Saka.
Yeah, I think Wilfried Zaha had a better career than Saka has so far. Like if you take the last 5 years or whatever, how many years they've been in?
But he's older,
years. I think Zaha's been better than Saka in the league, and Zaha's nowhere near world class.
I think this is for me. I always try and base it on this: is out of the Arsenal team. Let's use Arsenal because that's the one we're talking about right now. Who do Real Madrid buy tomorrow? William Saliba. It's probably the one I'll look at and go, if Real Madrid are going to go and buy a player from that team and that will become world class, I'm not saying he's right now, it's Saliba. I don't think would Real Madrid buy a Bukayo Saka tomorrow? Probably not. I don't think they look at anyone else in there. The only one they'd buy is a Saliba. Real Madrid's the pinnacle, right? That's how I look at it, right?
I agree. I mean, I look at is he a better footballer than Rodrigo? Is he? Probably the wrong way to look at it. No, you're right. You're right. If Real Madrid come calling at Arsenal, for me, you're right. They're going for Saliba. That's just my opinion. Stel, Will, is Saka their first port of call?
No.
I think Declan Rice has got a good
No, he's not going to Real Madrid. Stop.
Real Madrid.
Yeah,
Declan Rice is nobody player, dude. I'm sorry. He's a good.
Who's the holding mid for Real Madrid?
Is Declan Rice? Is Declan Rice better than Tchouaméni, Camavinga?
Who's the holding mid for Real Madrid? Who's the holding mid?
Declan Rice twerking is just getting on my nerves, man.
Wait. Who's the holding mid for Real Madrid?
Well, they mix it from game to game, don't they?
They normally play him.
Modric sometimes sits in the angle. They've got, look, in centre mid, they've got Modric, Cruz, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Jude Bellingham, and Valverde.
Yeah, but okay, one minute. Bellingham is more of an attacking player for me, so is Modric. Who's the more defensive-minded of those players?
But Modric doesn't. If you watch Madrid, Modric sits deep and just
nowadays he sits deeper now. He sits deeper.
Okay,
now.
So all right, fair enough. If Real Madrid don't play with a holding player as such, then no, Declan Rice wouldn't get in. If they don't play with that type of player, fair enough.
No, they play with a dynamic 8, right? So
yeah, good point.
Like a Bissouma type player. Like a Bissouma type player.
I think
like
if Bissouma plays 2 to 3 years like he's playing now, right? Like has 2 to 3 seasons like he's playing now, then Real Madrid will go for that Bissouma over this Rice.
I think if Declan Rice gets injured, the drop off on Arsenal will be very significant, to say the least.
Because the rest of their midfield is dog shit.
But he's also performing. Will each game he's actually performing quite well, really well.
Yeah, but it's easy to perform when you're the only one performing in that midfield. It's easy to stand out when everyone else is horrible and you're the only one doing a job.
No, because Gareth Bale, he stood out for Spurs, but he was clearly brilliant.
So no. What I'm saying is, look at the games that they've played against competent midfields, and tell me how many times Arsenal's midfield controlled that midfield. They didn't control it against us. They didn't control it against Chelsea. They didn't control it against even Fulham.
I think why he's in that team though, for his role, I think he does a very, very good job for Arsenal. I do. I think Declan Rice is doing a good job for Arsenal this season.
He's doing a good job, but good job doesn't mean that he's a good player. I think you've got Højbjerg has done a good job.
No, Declan Rice is a good player. He is a good player.
I think he's a good player. I think Declan Rice is a really good player. I think this is what we do, right? I think he's a good player, but here's the question: is Declan Rice's performances so stand out that you go, he's the best midfielder on the park?
Perchy, I'll tell you what it is for me, okay? Right, Perchy, I'll tell you what it is for me. We as Spurs fans, and I'm not talking about us here, I'm talking about everyone, can't keep bigging up Spurs because we're top of the league, 26 points. And then the team two behind us, no, he's not that great. That player in his team's not that great. They're not that great. Hold on a minute.
But nobody's doing that.
Behind us.
I get your point, but I'm not saying rubbish.
Savva Solar at Liverpool, however you say his last name, I can't pronounce it. But he has been a better player in that midfield than Declan Rice has for Arsenal. Fact. He's been playing better for Liverpool. You put him in that Arsenal midfield, and you would see levels above what Declan Rice is doing in that Arsenal midfield, right? You put pre-World Cup Bentancur from last season in this Arsenal midfield, and he runs circles around what Declan Rice has been doing for this midfield.
Slightly different players.
Declan Rice was very, very good for West Ham last season as well, right? I'm not just basing him out.
Was he, though? He had worse numbers than Højbjerg still.
Hold on a minute. West Ham were trash, yet he still performed for me. Otherwise, why did Arsenal buy him? Why did Man City want him? Why did England have him?
Why did they buy Havertz?
I think he's a good player. Yeah, but we can't keep doing this. We can't keep trashing Arsenal players on the basis that. But yet they're 2 points behind us. Yet all their players are shit. How's that possible? And yet we're going to play Spurs. Players are great, and we're 2 points ahead.
Because they had the second easiest start of the season, 6 penalties, and 3 deflected shots going into goal.
We had the easiest, Will. We had the easiest start.
Yeah, but we were talking almost exactly the same difficulty for us and them.
So back to my point. We can't
because
play Spurs.
they played City.
I don't understand the logic of we praise Spurs, rightly so, by the way. Rightly so, we should praise Spurs and our players. But then the team 2 points behind us, we're not going to praise their players. They're only 2 points off us. They've clearly done really, really well.
No. Still, I think we're slightly sliding away from the actual point of it.
I hate Arsenal. I hate them. But I've got to give them respect. They're 2 points behind us. Their players are doing
I've watched every Arsenal game this season. Every single one. They have not played well bar Bournemouth and Sheffield United.
No, but
2 out of 10 games they played.
But yeah, we praise our players who are 2 points ahead.
We've played good football.
But one second, I'll give credence to what Stel's saying here, just on this matter. I agree. I think we're moving away from the matter. What we're saying is Declan Rice world class? I think that was the argument. Would he?
No. It was which player would go to Real Madrid.
Yeah,
that's
what
that
I for one wouldn't. I don't think Real Madrid go in for wouldn't sign a Declan Rice. I think they could get better, right? But I think this is the one for me, right? With Arsenal, I agree with you. By the way, we can't be downplaying what Arsenal are doing. I think use the slight comparisons. Look what they did to Sheffield United, and look what happened with us against Sheffield United. That's the
different though, Perchy.
To a certain degree, but let's be honest.
Yeah, but then you can say we beat Fulham, and they couldn't beat a 10-man Fulham. So
exactly,
I think Spurs
with the
and
same
Arsenal,
team.
If you're going to praise Spurs players, and I think we should be praising Spurs players, you have got to praise the Arsenal players too. That's my.
No, you don't.
But Will, they're 2 points off us.
It doesn't matter. You're talking about individual performances of individual players. And you're talking about independent games that have completely different situations than other games. So you don't have to. I don't have to say. For me to say Bissouma's good doesn't mean I have to say Rice is good. That's silly.
Will, let me ask you this then: if Spurs, if our players have been so great and we're praising them, how are Arsenal only 2 points off us if all their players aren't great? How are they doing that? How is that even possible? 10 games.
How were we on 23 points last season under Conte in the first 10 games? How are we 23 points last season? Because we were grinding out results and getting weird little things that popped us up. Would you say we played well in the first 10? Hold on. Would you say we played well in the first 10 games last season?
Yes, because we were scoring more goals than the opposition. Attacking wise, we were good.
Nobody was. Go back and watch our shows.
Dude, we beat Leeds United 4-3. We beat another team 3-2. We were scoring
every weekend and see how many times we were happy with the performance on the weekend, even though we got the result. Come on now.
Yeah, but Arsenal came second as well last year. Will, these are the same players.
Yeah, but they came 5th, 8th, 5th, 6th, 5th the seasons before that.
Their teams moved on from that, and now they're second again. They're maintaining what they did last season. They're maintaining what they did last season.
One season where Granit Xhaka, who everybody said was a waste of a midfielder, having the season of his lifetime. Odegaard, who's had the season of his lifetime. Martinelli, who had the season of his lifetime. This wasn't a gradual increase to that performance, right? It wasn't some with 4 goals, 10 goals, 12 goals, 15 goals, 17 goals, 23 goals. It was 5 goals, 15 goals in one span of a season, right? Arsenal were the Leicester that couldn't finish.
But they're the same team now because they're in the same position. Those same players are doing it again.
They remind me of us last year. That's what they remind us of.
Who knew a conversation?
Savva, what's your opinion on this? Because you sat there for 10 minutes.
You need to go put your Arsenal shirt back on, Stel.
What's my opinion on what?
I can praise both teams' players. I can praise both.
Would be look. I think it's right. It's the same thing. It's the same as like I said earlier, Stel. If you're going to put people on a pedestal, it means that loads of people have to go on a pedestal. If no one's going to go on a pedestal, no one goes on a pedestal. What we can't do is say teams that are in and around us, all their players are really, really bad. Equally, what we can't do is start saying all our players are world class because we're top of the league right now. So for me,
I haven't said any of our players are world class.
No, I know you haven't. I know you haven't. You know what it's like. We start this conversation and the chat has gone mad. The chat conversation about
what I do. I wind up chats.
And just because I like to prove certain people wrong, which is probably a flaw in my character, is this. Hey, you know what? I think that before people type things in, you've got to go and do your research. Phil Foden, who sits on the bench and plays every 3 weeks. Phil Foden's played 212 games of football in the last 4 seasons. 212 games of football, winning 3 league titles, a Champions League, 2 FA Cups, a League Cup, this, that, the other. So, no, he doesn't sit on the bench every 3 weeks. And for the last 6 Man City games that he's been a part of, he's played 90 minutes. He's played 90 minutes in 6 of the last 7 Man City games. So please don't come with these nonsense things. It makes you look really, really silly. I'm really glad I brought that comment up about what Will said. Gaz Spurs said, Sav, you said that Arsenal were better than us. What are you basing that on? I'm basing it on the fact that I think they've got more firepower. I don't think they've got a Son, like Will said, but I do think that when they start clicking, I think they've got more firepower than we have. And I don't look at any of our forwards other than Son and Maddison. I think will chip in. I don't look at any of the others and see 12 to 15 goals in any of them. That Kulu, Richarlison, Solomon, Valise, Hill, I don't see any of them with 15 goals, I'm afraid. I do see Martinelli with it. I do see Saka with it. Odegaard, if he sorts himself out, we know he's got it. Jesus has got it. We know Nketiah will get 10 to 12 goals as well. So that's the only reason why. William Webb.
Hot take real quick. No one in Arsenal's front line will score more than 12 goals besides Saka this season. No one.
Ooh,
I told you Saka.
All right. Well, all right. We'll see. We'll see.
And Martinelli's the only one that'll crack 10.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I think they're going to go in good form, but we'll see. William said when Levy signed the past 3 managers before Ange, I don't know who to say that, you were singing praises when it went wrong. Not so. He signed Ange. You were not singing his praises. How fickle are fans? I don't know who this is aimed at. I don't actually know why I saved that. And to this person again, just quickly, I hate to break it to you. Some of these footballers have played professional football before they moved to the Premier League. There is an opportunity to watch players play in other leagues. Diaby has been a professional footballer for many years for Bayer Leverkusen. This isn't new. He's not new.
I was just to say on that point, Sammy the Ball, mate, you've really missed the point here. What you're meant to have done is put 2 players before they came, that 2 players that haven't done well come. You pick 2 players that have hit the ground running in the Premier League. So isn't that surely proving the point? Am I right in saying? I don't know. Maybe it's just...
Listen, I love it. I love it. I love these sort of conversations. We talk about one player in Saka and it descends into
I love
loads of stuff. So if we're going back, look, Will, the question somebody asked was how many world-class players do Spurs have? I can't remember if you answered it. Did you answer it?
0.5.
Okay, so you're going with Son's finishing.
Yeah.
Okay. Stel.
Best finisher in the league. So.
Well, at Tottenham?
At Tottenham?
No, we haven't got any world-class players at Tottenham at the moment.
Stel? Oh, look. Come on, Stel.
I'm trying to ask myself right now. In fact, I can't. No, it's none because I can't go off of just 10 games. 10 games isn't enough proof. No, 0. I think Son though for his finishing. I think Son for his finishing though, he is one of the best across Europe of the last 5 years.
Not one of the best, the best.
No, at finishing he is.
World-class finishing. I've said sort of world-class finishing, yes. World-class footballer, no for me. But everyone knows my standards. I think the only 2 clubs with world-class players are Liverpool, and that is purely Mo Salah and Man City, who I think have a plethora. And what did make me laugh yesterday, I did watch your show, guys, and when Alex came on and he cracked me up. He said, I've been doing some thinking, and you know what? You don't need world-class players to win league titles. You know, if you look at Man City and then started to name like Rodri, De Bruyne, Ruben Diaz, but Erling Haaland's not world-class. I was like, okay, he cracks me up, that boy.
Man City have 3. I'd say. 4.
Well, I'd say
4 actually.
Yeah, 3 or 4. I think the manager, because the manager for me, I think Allison would probably be world class for Liverpool.
Yeah, I would have put Allison.
Sorry,
in
yeah,
that.
sorry, yeah.
But just even the managers too. Like, I'm sorry, I after watching this, I didn't know who he was before. So I'm not saying, but I'm saying, and I'm willing to go out there and with chest and say, after 10 games, Postecoglou was a way better manager than Mikel Arteta could dream about being, in my opinion. Mentality,
his experience,
be able to change an atmosphere, his record, he's won everywhere he's been, right? To a guy who won an FA Cup with no fans in the stadium. Okay.
I mean, look, I make you right, because I think Arteta has done well. He's done well, right? But last season is carrying for what before that was some very average seasons. He's in a job because 1, COVID, and 2, the FA Cup win, which wasn't even his squad, which was Unai Emery's squad, is kept him in the job. Now, I'm also aware that he's a young manager. That was his first job, and he will build and grow. But because of that, I still think that he's getting way too much hype from everywhere around the world when he hasn't really done anything. Yeah, you finished second. Good, very good season. But other than that, what is it that Arteta gets so much praise for? Before that, it was 8th, 5th. Like, why is he put on such a pedestal by Arsenal fans? Not all
I actually don't know. This is what I don't get. I think for the amount of money they've spent, like, I think that needs he is like, listen, they've rebuilt the squad for him. So let's be honest. Should Arsenal in that sort of bracket be in a title race? We like talking about Tottenham, but I don't think Tottenham should be in a title race right now, because I think if you use the barometer of what Arsenal have done,
they should be, but I don't think they are.
I don't think they are as well.
Perchy, I think it's because they went through what we have gone through recently, right? If you're starved of anything decent, any happiness, any pride, any enjoyment, and suddenly you get fed some crumbs of hope and improvement, you get overhyped and overexcited. The same's happened with us. We've had 3-4 years of toxicity, fans arguing, channels and podcasts at each other's throats, managers storming out, shouting all sorts in press conferences, players not being up to par, whatnot. The chairman coming under criticism. Exact same thing happened at Arsenal. Now there's been like this big turnaround in the short term. Everyone's gone nuts because we've been starved of anything even close to this. And I think that's what it is. I think Arsenal, the same thing happened to them. And so they've got overhyped with Arteta. But for me, this season is judgment time for Arteta now. It has to be judgment time.
I agree. Isn't it like what Eddie Murphy said? If someone's hungry and not eaten for 5 days, you throw them a cracker, that cracker tastes good, right? Like we are starved. That's why one of the things I always say when people go over the top is, I get it. I get why people are going over the top, because we've been starved. But Arsenal did the same thing, and we said the same thing to them last year, did we not? When they were flying, I think we said the same thing to them. Just, relax, calm down, because there's a difference for me between being in great form, and then there's a difference between what the likes of Klopp and Pep can do, which is getting you over a line. And for me, I think that having the manager is so much more important sometimes than the signings you make. I don't know if that's true for anyone else. I'm not saying you don't need good players, but Pep Guardiola and Klopp alone, the aura around them gets their teams to titles and trophies, the know-how. Postecoglou's got that, right? But can he convert that, guys, from other leagues to the Premier League?
We don't know that yet. I think that you can, right? Because for me, I think managers are different than players, right? So the leagues that he's managed in before are difficult to that level, right? So, for example, your final exams for primary school are difficult for a primary school student. They're not difficult for a college student to go in and take a primary school final exam, or say secondary school or middle school or whatever, junior high. That final exam is difficult for a junior high student. It's not difficult for a high schooler, is it? Right? So but when you're a teacher and you're teaching that levels, a good teacher is going to be able to teach at any level, right? If they're a good teacher, right? If they have the capacity to educate people. And managers, you have to think of like teaching, right? Is a math professor, if you have a degree in mathematics, can you teach college math? Yeah. Can you teach elementary math? Yeah. Right. But if you're a good teacher, you're going to do better at any level that you teach at. For me, that's the way managers work for me. So this whole thing, yeah, but he's only done it in Scotland. I don't see it as that. I see it as he did it in Australia. He took a team of players who were average and made them champions. He went to Japan, joined a city group, took a team of average Japanese players and made them champions. Went to Scotland, brought in a ton of no-name players, which, by the way, the Celtic fans bombasted him for when he did it, and he made them a treble-winning side and champions 2 years in a row. So this is, for me, this is the difference between people say, well, yeah, we were on 23 points last season after 10 games under Conte. So what's the difference? Postecoglou is the difference, right? Conte is not known for taking unknown players and making them champions. He's known for taking champions and making them champions again, right? That's the difference between Postecoglou and Conte for me. So will it happen this year? I don't know, but if it does, it's going to be great. And I'm going to be sitting on a bunch of Gunnar Graves by the end of the season if it does. Because
I'll tell you the difference for me with Postecoglou that I've got some optimism about. And again, it still comes down to what the board does. But when Poch came to, when we had Harry Redknapp, we were playing great football. First time in the Champions League, I think got to semi-final of an FA Cup with Pochettino. Great football, Champions League final. Got to some semi-finals, nearly won a league. If you want to say we were in the race, I mean, we finished 6, 7, 8 points off in the end. But both those managers played good football, right? The difference was they both came to Spurs with no success behind their back. They hadn't won anything. These people at a management level. I think maybe Redknapp might have won a lower league division. Postecoglou has come to us, just like Redknapp, just like Poch, playing good football on the front foot. Still plenty of work to be done. We're far from being that refined team, but definitely playing good football. But this man's a winner. He's done it for a national team. He's done it in Asia. He's done it in Scotland. He has got winning pedigree behind his back. Whether he can take that to the next level, like he's always done, he's gone from Australia to Asia to Scotland. Right? Can you do it here? We're going to find out.
So far, it looks like he can. Because nobody expected us to be sitting top of the table 10 weeks in.
Well, this I agree with you so far. And why I'm optimistic, but again, let's wait and see. He's actually a manager that's come to Spurs who, unlike Conte and Jose, who don't come with a great style of football, like Redknapp and Poch, he comes with a great style of football, but he's got a CV. This guy's actually got a CV. So that's what gives me some optimism this time. But it's still going to come down to the board.
CV.
Still going to come down to what we do.
He had more of a CV when he came to us than Pochettino did when he came to us.
Yep.
Poch didn't have a CV, Will. He'd won.
I know.
That's hardly got one now.
That's the point I'm making. Yeah.
And then doesn't that type of conversation then bring it all full circle? That, listen, I don't think in any of this conversation, what I get told a lot is, trust in Postecoglou. It's not Postecoglou that I don't trust, guys. I've not doubted Postecoglou's management ability. What I don't trust is that we will do the right things. And it's not even about January for me. It's not even just about, right, what are we going to do in January? For me, I think if they were serious and they really wanted to back him, I still think we would have brought in another centre-half in the summer. I truly believe that you can't go into the season with two recognised proper first-team centre-halves in Van der Ven and Romero. You've got to get somebody else in there. And I want to get your guys' opinion on this. I know I'll start with you, Perchy, and then I'll go around. Again, the centre half that we're linked to is Lloyd Kelly. Now I don't know about you guys, but there's nothing about that screams that's any different to anything we've ever done. There's nothing about that screams, yeah, we've got ambition and we want to win titles. It just screams to me another player with a contract running out that's cheap, and I fail to believe that this is a first choice target for Postecoglou.
I think the best way to look at Spurs transfer targets for January, this is me being really, really cynical, is go on the transfer market, look at contracts expiring and have a look. Tosin Adarabioyo, Lloyd Kelly's. Just, I think. Listen, but listen. So I was just sort of before I say, I was just going to say, listen, they could be an answer, but Lloyd Kelly doesn't even start for Bournemouth, right? Tosin Adarabioyo hasn't started for Fulham this season. So are we seriously suggesting that they get into our team now? I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Bentancur and Kulusevski weren't starting for Juventus, were they?
But I think when we're talking Juventus and Bournemouth, is two different brackets, right?
Yeah,
I think there's
and
types of links.
Kulusevski. Yeah, actually, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to open.
Don't start that.
I think there's two types of links though that you get with Tottenham right now. You get the media that does their normal, like what would Spurs go for, and just kind of throws that into. But I think because you've also been linked to that Japanese defender, and I think that's a more likely target.
Ito, It's Ito?
I think that's a more likely person that we purchase. So we could be linked because if you look at the summer and you look at the defensive, we were linked with several defenders, but it ended up being Adebayo. I can't remember the other guy now off the top of my head. I forgot, but started with as a young chap, plays in Germany. But then we ended up getting Van de Ven because that was the one that Postecoglou wanted, right? So while we'll get a lot of these, I think, normal Spursy-esque type of links, it's going to be the Japanese defender that we pull up, right? Or, we're picking that Kim Min-jae in the future that we should have bought back under Jose Mourinho, 3 or 4 years ago. What a signing that would have been for £5 million.
Are they enough, Will? I get that he's worked with those sort of players before and he'll bring them in, but is that the difference between closing the gap with the Liverpools and Cities of this world?
Yeah,
I'll tell you what I mean by that in more detail. If you look at Man City, if I was to say to any of you right now, what is Man City's best two centre halves that he picks week in, week out?
Diaz, Stones.
Yeah,
but Stones hasn't really played centre back, so.
But this season, I've seen him play Diaz, Vardiol, Diaz, Akanji, and Vardiol and Stones and Wall. This is my point. I feel like we're about to do that same old thing, Will, where we go, I've already seen it. People in the chat going, oh, but what good player comes to sit on our bench? So we need a Lloyd Kelly. Surely that can't be where we're at.
Okay, two things. One, last season, when Brighton were only playing one game a week, we were all talking about them. We didn't know hardly any of the signings they made, and look what happened, okay? The second thing, this is where last season, Brighton, when they only had one game a week, we were all talking about how great they were. We didn't know any of the signings they made. I mean, so the second thing
they sold like £3 million worth of players last season.
Yeah, because everyone else wanted them, right? The second thing is, and this is where I've got a very different stance now, because I've always backed the manager. I've said, don't blame the manager. They don't get to pick who they want half the time. This is a nonsense that we turn on managers. This time, I've taken a slightly different stance because Ange has come out and publicly said, I decide, I have the final say who comes in my team. I had this conversation. I wouldn't have taken the job otherwise, blah, blah, blah. So if we do sign a Lloyd Kelly and other players like that, whether we like it or not, we are backing the manager because he's come out. Lloyd Kelly will only sign for Spurs if the manager has agreed to it. So that's where we are now, isn't it?
But I don't think he'll sign Lloyd Kelly. I think he'll sign the Japanese guy nobody's ever heard of.
Can I be a little bit?
I think that's okay. And yes, I think that will compete with City, because if people would have said signing Kim Min-jae 3 or 4 years ago, would that have been signing somebody who compete with Man City? And now he's like second to third best center back in Europe right now, as far as stats.
What I'll say though, as fans, if we signed Guardiola or if we signed Kvaratskhelia, we know exactly what we're getting as fans, right? We know what we've just signed. It's like, wow.
Yeah, but I mean, Gvardiol's new too. He wasn't anybody 2 years ago either, right?
I think but we knew last season he was top. You saw him,
he's young. He's a great player. I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'm saying 2 years ago nobody knew about him, right? What I'm saying is players out there that are young, like Mickey van der Ven, who nobody heard of before, right? And he's come into the league, bam, slotted right in. Has been the Jan Vertonghen, almost Jan Vertonghen that we've been missing since he left, right? So my point is we don't have to buy somebody that Real Madrid wants to buy.
Yeah,
we can go buy somebody who Real Madrid will want to buy in 2 years if we get it right. That's the problem. Is an if. But I have to trust Postecoglou because he has a good track record of doing it.
I agree with that theory. Perchy, I'll come to you. I agree with that theory. But for me, just not like Lloyd Kelly. I've spoken to Bournemouth fans that I've YouTubed with and that, and they're like, he's like, I don't know. Listen, it's just links. It could be absolutely nothing. I've seen Lloyd Kelly play.
Wait and see who we sign. Probably is the best way to think about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of course. It's just topics. It's just debates, right? Listen, at the end of the day, what we can't ever do though is get to the stage where every answer to every question is, if Postecoglou wants him, I want him, because otherwise YouTube would be dead, right? We'd have no debates. Like, do you know what I mean? So, like, we're still football fans that have an opinion on what's happening. But look, what I would say is, we see things I see comments like this all the time, and I get it. But the thing is, we can always pick the successful ones. It's the same thing as was a manager backed by Levy? That conversation that we always have. It's always when a player works out, they were backed. When a player doesn't work out, they weren't backed. So for me, it's we can play this game all day long.
What I would say
look
on this
look when Arteta signed sorry, Perchy, look when Arteta signed Willian. That didn't work out, did it?
Of course.
But I think for me at the moment, I think I'll go full circle with it, right? I think as long as the manager wants it, what I want, the manager must have a suggestion to go of 3 or 4 players that they go, do you know what, for this position, if it's one of these pool of players, I'll be happy and I can agree on it. What, for me, I think the bigger part of it is it's not necessarily the individual name to a certain extent. What it is, it's the timing, right? What we don't want to see is on the 31st of January, 2 or 3 players come in. What I want to see is first week of the window, bids, or before the window's open, Tottenham have had a bid agreed for the young Japanese centre-half that plays at Mönchengladbach. Deal's been agreed. Terms have been agreed. Deal will be completed on the 1st of January. That, for me, is the key bit. Not having the likes of, I'll use a previous window in Kulusevski and Bentancur coming in on the 31st of January. We need players coming in the first week of the window because we are short, right? That for me is
by the 14th at least, right?
Well, you get the sort of gist of what I'm sort of saying, and that for me,
we don't want it to be 2 players became available on the 30th and we went and got them, and everyone goes, "Oh, well,
exactly." What you want is the manager. The manager can okay a deal. The manager could go, "Well, Ange Postecoglou wants these 2 players to come in." That's great, but they can't come in at the end of the window. We need those things done early because, as I said, we're short, and the longer we go
for the positions that are leaving, like
yes,
if we sign the center back on the last day of the window, it's not as big of a
sorry, of course, sorry, apologies, that's what I mean. Center half, X, Y, and Z, right? Listen, I'm not sitting there saying, "Oh, we're desperate to sign in another midfielder." I'd rather us get in the center.
It depends on injuries as well.
Straight away.
It depends on who gets injured in December and how long they're injured for. If we get another Perisic out for the season, we need to go and get that sorted out like quickly, right?
But do you know what? So just quickly, I'm going to go, as long as you guys are okay, I'm going to go for 10 more minutes and then call it a day. Before we do that, we've had 2 subscribers the entire show. Guys, girls, smash that subscribe button. While you're there, subscribe to Tottenham Away, subscribe to the Perchy TV. We can't be having over 350 people in the show the whole time and 2 subscribers. We're talking Richarlison conversion rates there. This is not the one. Let's not be those people. And please do keep smashing the likes. We should be on 250 likes. Stel, is that? Oh, okay. You've just come in with a different camera. Okay.
How have I done that? I've only got one camera. Okay.
I don't know, mate. Listen, dude, I'm not.
Because you froze up, you locked up.
So please make sure you do that. Please keep smashing that button. Question here from Kate was to Will and Stel. Says, do you not think there is a different feeling around this Spurs time? time team?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet because I remember when Antonio's first game, the whole stadium was Antonio, and then we went on that run,
Right.
second half of the season, got Champions League, and everyone was like, "We're gonna go places." I'll tell you on the 31st of January when that window shuts.
Will
Yeah,
different this time around?
Yeah, I do think there's a difference, right? So no, the reason why there's a difference for me is I think Postecoglou is a true alpha male, and what I mean by that is Conte for me. I think he's like that. He's got that small dog mentality, right? Where they're loud and they're barky and they like to bark and nip and nap, but there's not a real lot of substance to that confidence because you don't get when you're a true alpha, you don't get rattled super easily about things that you can't necessarily control. You just buckle down, grind it out, and get it done, get the job done. But so I think that there's a difference there for me, and in the feeling, I think that's why Postecoglou is successful where he goes is because of that particular mentality, and he's been doubted and he's been scoffed at and laughed at his whole life, whereas Conte and Jose are ego monsters. Whereas Postecoglou's like, I don't have an ego because nobody's ever rated me, right? So he's just a hardcore, push it to the end. That's the symmetry breaker for me. And I think that's going to affect Daniel Levy because we all know that Daniel Levy is a beta male simp, right? And so I think he's going to attach himself to that alpha male man smell and actually do something this window. I really do. I think it's coming. I know it doesn't sound very logical, but if you look at personality types, right, what do beta males do? They attach themselves to alphas, right? And that's what Daniel Levy is.
Yeah, look, I don't doubt it. I feel that there's I wasn't asked, but I'm going to jump in anyway. I feel that there is a massive change around the ground. I think people always think that I don't believe that because of sorry, that's playing in the background. Because I say we won't win the league, I think they think that I'm not happy. I can feel a real difference. The players seem happy. You can see the way the players all seem happy. I'm just a true believer. Maybe I'm old school. That 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 times out of 10, the teams with the best players win. And for me, I just think that work needs to be done. I wasn't expecting it all to be done in one window, which is why I'm not putting the pressure on that I think some people are starting to put on. So I think that there is a definitely a good feeling. Last thing I want to talk about just for the last 5 minutes, just quickly, Chelsea away on Monday night. No, that's a complete lie. Chelsea at home on Monday night. Everyone else would have played. So it's our turn this time to know where we're going to be and what we need to do to get back to the top of the table. How are we all feeling about that game? Chelsea had started to rise up and then had a really disappointing defeat at home to Brentford. So how are we feeling about that?
2-0 for me.
2-0.
Yeah.
I think
Sterling with a brace?
No, Son with one, Maddison with one.
Son of Maddison, the Son of Maddison combo.
The Maddison combo.
The Maddison, yeah.
I think we win 2-1. And 2-1. I think, yeah, a couple of Son goals.
There is no way in a million years Chelsea are coming to Spurs on a Monday night under the lights, the return of Poch, and we're not winning it. We are going to beat them. Poch isn't going to have a happy return. We will be the 12th man. It's not going to be this battering that some people say. I agree with Perchy, 2-1. Chelsea prefer to play teams that play expansive football as opposed to the low block, like most of us do. Most of us teams that can play a bit of football. I think it's going to be a close game, but Spurs will beat Chelsea. Clip it, snap it, whatever they call it. We're going to do 2-1.
And Arsenal fans, you will see this Monday night why our midfield is better than yours. You will see it tonight or Monday night.
Yeah, and Arsenal go to Newcastle away on the Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
And Arsenal will lose that game. This is where the split happens.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's going to be interesting. I think that it's going to be a really good game for what it's worth. Chelsea Spurs. I think that it will be nice to play a team that for once don't stick 10 men behind the ball. They will try and play. I think that midfield battle is going to be, really interesting, of Caicedo, Enzo and Gallagher versus Maddison, Bissouma and Sarr. I think it's going to be a really, really good game. But I think we will win. I just think that I don't think Chelsea have been anywhere near as bad as anyone makes out. They just can't score goals. And when you've spent £1 billion and not one of that billion was spent on, I know they bought on Kunku and it's unlucky for them he got injured, but like, you need a striker. They've not bought a striker. So I think we will win that. I do think it will be tight though. I keep seeing every time we play a game lately, everyone's predicting that we're going to smack everybody.
We're not going to batter Chelsea.
We're not going to batter him. It's going to be a really good game though, I do agree.
Yeah.
Can I also add that Bissouma against Crystal Palace, there's a couple of occasions where a player's kind of just got past him and he's thinking, do I reach out and just pull him back? Do I hook my leg in front of him? And he's thinking, and then he pulled back. I think Bissouma played a bit within himself. He was a little bit reserved.
He did. I saw it very reserved. Yeah.
He knew. I think you're.
But this is the game. This is the game to get that fifth yellow card, right? Get that fifth yellow card here.
I think you'll unleash this one
out of your skin against Chelsea. Get that fifth yellow card. Let Højbjerg handle Wolves, and then be back for the tough part of the season and have 5 free games in front of you.
I agree.
This is the game to do it. So I don't mind him being a little bit reserved against Crystal Palace. He's got to.
Yeah. And I think Dogi will be back as well.
In my mind, I would give him an instruction to get a yellow card against Chelsea. Get a yellow, not 2.
Not early. If you do it at the end of the game. End of the game, not at the beginning. You don't want him booked early.
Yeah, do you know what? I almost felt that even his positioning, I don't know if anyone else feels this, even his positioning against Crystal Palace, it looked like he was sitting really deep, like, as opposed to the driving force that we know he is. But I think the yellow card was on the mind. Look, it's going to happen, right? He's going to miss a game soon. He's going to get booked. This is life. This is what happens. But listen, I'm really looking forward to that midfield battle still. That I think Chelsea have been very strong in there when they've had Caicedo, Enzo, and Gallagher as a free. They've not lost. As soon as Enzo came out of that team, they looked weaker. But I think it's going to be a great game.
I don't get the criticism Gallagher's getting at the moment from some Chelsea fans. I hear criticism. I'm like, are you crazy? Are you guys what? I'm like, Chelsea fans, are you watching your boy play? Are you watching Gallagher at the moment? He's been one of your best. Him and that young guy they bought from Man City. Them two look like two.
Cole Palmer looks a player as well.
He looks fantastic. Fantastic.
I'd take Gallagher. I think Gallagher suits Postecoglou's system down to a T.
That's why when we were linked with him, I was saying go all out and pay money for Conor Gallagher. And people were like, nah, we can get better. I said he would be perfect in our midfield. And we're not going to get him now. They've made him captain. But yeah, I think Gallagher's a great player.
Just quickly, Lee, but when you're saying they've only, I said they've looked strong when that midfield trio has played, they've not lost. When you're saying against shit teams, they've only had that midfield trio playing.
No. What he's saying, Savva, what he's saying is Chelsea are good against the better teams. I think that's what he's saying. Unless I've read that wrong.
Listen, I watch Chelsea like everyone else does. They're on TV most weekends.
Oh, no.
I don't think
sorry. Forget what I said. I misread it.
In any game, I don't ever see Chelsea getting slapped. They're never terrible.
Chelsea's played well.
They just can't score, right?
They can't score.
They just can't score, yeah.
They can't score.
I mean, they outplayed Arsenal for 75 minutes. Outplayed
a better team against Brentford for the majority, and then
2 moments of losing concentration, and they let them. One weird goal, one weird pass from Sanchez, and then one lapse of concentration at the far post, and that was it, right? I mean, you cannot say that no honest Arsenal fan can come out and say we deserve to get 2 points or deserve to get a point out of that game. It just happened. Look. It's not like the Tottenham Arsenal game for me, right? I don't think Arsenal fans should be saying that against the game that they played as. It was a penalty and an own goal. So, but for me, it's just Chelsea have been playing really well in their midfield and defensively. It's just their front line that just can't score. And then Sterling will get his purple patches. Sterling's always, even for City, Sterling was a purple patcher, right? He would go 3 games and he would score 6 goals, and then he wouldn't score for 6 weeks, right? So that's just the way that Chelsea are going to have to battle it out. Jackson, for me, he looks like he's got good spatial awareness, but some of his finishing reminds me of Nketiah, right, or Richarlison. So, and for me, that's the place where
give them
it
credit for,
has to be upgraded. Left wing for us is a must. Like, as bad as Kulu's been, he's not as bad as Richarlison, and left wing for us is something that we must buy in January. For me,
I agree. Do you know? Just quickly, because I'm going to end the show. Do you know what I will give Chelsea credit for all the hate they're getting? Everything. You've got to remember, Chelsea in some games this year have had 11 to 12 first-team players injured. Now, all I'll ask is thank our lucky stars that we don't, because that's a lot for any club to contend with. That's a lot of footballers to have out. But listen, I don't think it's going to be this walk in the park that everyone thinks it. I hope it is. I hope we go and win 3 or 4-0, but I heard that against Sheffield United. I heard that against Luton. I heard that against Palace. So I think it's going to be a tough game, one that we should win. If we've got aspirations, I think that we should win that game. But bigger pitch, got to make sure we don't let their Mudricks, their Sterlings, their Cole Palmers getting behind. Anyway, listen, Stel, sorry, 2 super chats. Just a girl who loves Spurs said Stel getting splinters in his arse. I don't know what that was about.
I'll come off the wooden pole because she thinks I'm sitting on the fence about has the mood changed at Spurs. I'll come off the wooden pole, Kate, on the 31st of January. You will not make me change to give you an opinion now. I need to see that January window, because for me, that because I'll tell you now, if we have a bad window in January and our form dips, watch the mood completely swing like it did with Mourinho, like it did with Conte, like it did with Nuno, like it's done with all the managers in recent times.
I just think it's different, man.
We don't win in 3 games and watch it all change, right? You lose to Chelsea.
I think it's different. Postecoglou's different.
I don't know. I know our fans.
If that happens, you're going to hear, why is Richarlison starting? I'm sick of this guy.
Yeah.
Why the hell has he brought on Ben Davies again? It's going to happen.
Yeah, but look at the Fulham. Look at the Fulham. We did that for Fulham. We did that for Fulham in the Cup, right? Like I said that's his Postecoglou's mistake.
Everyone had to go.
But how did Postecoglou handle it, though? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's going to make mistakes that we as a fan base don't agree with. But what I'm saying, how is he going to handle it? Right? He didn't let that Fulham draw get knocked out of the Cup affect our league results, did he? No, we came back that next week. And I think that was the week that we pounded Burnley 5-2, right?
Because he had the players to make the changes, Will. That's the point. He had the players to then revert back to the team that was winning.
I know.
If we start getting injuries and we don't bring in backup, then he won't have those options to bring on, will he?
Right, but what I'm saying is it's different. If that was Conte, he would have come out and he would have said, these players, they have no passion, they don't play with mentality. Postecoglou's like, no, it's my decision. I'm doing this because I want to see how these players play. So I'm saying there's a responsibility. There's a difference between Jose. Jose would have said 3 cups. How many? Count them 1, 2, 3. How many titles do I have? Right, there's a difference. Postecoglou's like, nah, it wasn't a mistake. I did what I did.
Let me put it.
It was what it was.
Okay, let me put it to you this way, right? When I get to the stadium now, there's a good vibe at the stadium. Before kickoff, the trumpet starts playing. It comes up on the big screen. When Spurs and everyone starts geeing each other up and the trumpet plays. And then the players come out the tunnel and then there's a big roar. Then the drummer starts playing. Oh, angepostecoglou. People swaying their scarves, the flag, thinking, great. That's going to keep happening. But at the end of the game, when we win, the DJ pumps the music, old school 90s house. Everyone's jumping up and down in the stands. Na, 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 na. That will stop if the results don't continue. You can't be playing that party music if you're not winning. Suddenly, the atmosphere changes because that's what we're used to. Results will determine the atmosphere for me. And if we get injuries, they'll slip away. And that's why I'm saying, wait till the January for me. Let's see who comes in. Because then Andrew's got more firepower to protect results. Because if we've got to turn to Ben Davies, Richarlison, God forbid Dyer becomes our sub because one of the centre-backs are injured, we are screwed. We are absolutely going to go downhill. That's my big worry, which is why just back him in jail. I hope this is Will. You said something earlier. You think is it the alpha male and the alpha male and the beta male, they combine? I hope that's all true and Levy does back him. I really do. Because if it does, I get it. I'll come off the fence and give Kate what she wants. That sounds a bit weird. But...
Okay. Jim, I said, just say it. We will win the league. It feels good. I'm going to quickly move on from that after Jim called me R2D2 yesterday.
Forget what I just said, Jim. Forget everything I said, Jim. Just
big up, Jim.
We're winning the league. We're winning the league. By the way, Phil, I don't think this is true. I think if you watch them, they've not been that bad at the back. Don't think they've been that bad at the back. But anyway, listen, it is what it is. Listen, Stel, thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for inviting me.
Always. Will, thanks do you say you're in Missouri?
Yeah, I'm in Missouri. I got a business trip. I do translating for people, so don't have anywhere to be until 5:15. So that's why I was able to come on.
Listen, thanks for spending your time with us. Really appreciated it. And listen, I think everyone in the chat enjoyed it as well. And Perchy, as always, thank you, man. Thanks for joining.
And thanks for having me on.
Perfect. Tomorrow, please join me live at 6 p.m. We've got a channel announcement. And as part of the channel announcement, we will be giving away a shirt. So please look out for that. That's 6 p.m. And then tomorrow night, we'll be doing the live League Cup scores around the grounds. So join us for that. Please please subscribe on your way out. Thanks for your time. And thanks for your support. As always, come on, you Spurs.